Good afternoon. My name is Karina Quiroga, and this is my partner, Maria Del Valle. Today, we will be talking to you about our research on COVID-19's effects on the Nasdaq and Bitcoin markets. For this research, we worked with our team, which consisted of Weiyuan Wu, Giovanni Ruiz, and Dr. Sean Mondesir.
So, what do these two companies have in common with the coronavirus? Has the COVID-19 cases and deaths affected the stock and cryptocurrency markets?
The reason this research is so important is because it will help us identify why the stock market has fluctuated these last few months and what events caused it. Also, this research can help us predict what will happen to stocks such as Bitcoin when COVID-19 cases increase or decrease in the future. Also, it can help shareholders make decisions about their shares based on past events and fluctuations we have seen from this research. Finally, if there ever is a future pandemic, it will help us better know what may occur to stocks. So what is Nasdaq? Nasdaq is an index of collection of prices from companies listed all over the exchange. Some examples are Microsoft, Amazon, Netflix, and many more. Also, it can be used as an indicator as to how US corporations are currently doing.
Bitcoin, on the other hand, is a digital currency that is decentralized. That is a decentralized authority, meaning that it is not a government-issued currency. The balances are kept in a public ledger for transparency, and it is not backed up by any bank. So there's not a physical Bitcoin per se. Now, how are these two markets related to the COVID-19 pandemic? They are very distinct from one another, but that in itself makes them good, broad indicators that the current pandemic has influenced their markets or not.
So the way we began our research was by downloading and collecting all the Nasdaq, Bitcoin, and COVID data we could get. We were able to get all of this data as well as important COVID events. We merged all this data and combined it in order to form a table that could be utilized to create visualizations. We then created plots and compared the market to COVID events and cases. We used Python and libraries such as Matplotlib to create all of these visuals. Then, after this, we were able to calculate correlational values and did hypothesis tests to further our research. Finally, with all of this said, we did a statistical analysis and concluded all of our findings.
So this table is a visual representation on how the volume in Bitcoin decreased, as seen in blue, and the total COVID-19 cases in orange increased. You can see that on the dotted green, which represents event days, that there were spikes in volume where event days are present. Some examples are in the month of March, where there's a noticeable drop in volume. That day, in mid-March, President Donald Trump declared a national emergency in the US, and that is one of the biggest drops Bitcoin has had so far. Another example is exhibited in the middle of the month of May. There's also a significant decrease in volume, and this relationship is negative because as the COVID cases increase, the Bitcoin volume decrease. So, and you can see it manifested later in our correlation table of values.
This graph also shows similar information as the one you previously just saw with Bitcoin, except this one shows Nasdaq close prices instead. Also, this here you can see that unlike Bitcoin, the Nasdaq price increases with the global total cases. As you can see in late March, it begins to increase as the COVID cases begin to increase as well. And then also, unlike Bitcoin, there are no big drops or changes in price when there is an event date. So you can see event dates, and one of the largest drops actually correlated with it would be this one. But really, compared to Bitcoin, there is very little drops compared to that one. Also, Nasdaq is increasing, which may be sort of strange to some people, but since Nasdaq, as I previously said, is a collection of companies like Amazon, Apple, PayPal, they may have actually benefited from the quarantine due to the pandemic, and that's why it begins to rise as the cases do as well. So here is the COVID versus market correlational value table. Here, this supports our graph that we previously just saw, because all of these correlational values are near 1. As you can see, 0.72 is close to the number 1. And then the closer they are to 1, it shows that there is a correlation between the prices and the total cases, both in the US and globally, as along with the total deaths in the US and globally. And since they're positive, it's a positive correlation, since they both increase.
The Bitcoin volume, as highlighted under global new cases, has had the opposite effect. It had a negative correlation as its values approximate -1. Additional tests were done, such as the t-test and the Wilcoxon test, and they yielded a value under the mark of 0.05. That means that there was a significant change in Bitcoin daily prices, which is the one highlighted in the table above. But there was also hypothesis tests done for events days before and after an event to see if there was any significant change in it. But it revealed that there was no significant change, meaning the p-values, due to the p-values. So there is no evidence in this research that the COVID-19 was affecting these days. The coronavirus pandemic resulted in unprecedented research across the globe, from linking into the SARS epidemic that happened a couple of years back, to the importance of challenges in real-time research as the pandemic is ongoing. The importance of research was highlighted in this crisis, and now countries are funding research more after experiencing the stakes of a worldwide pandemic. Most think that research is leading towards a vaccine, but the effect of COVID-19 on the market and just the global economy is also of importance. And this project tackles just a glimpse of what happened on the days where COVID-19 news were released to the public and the market's reactions to it.
The results from our specific research was that based on the correlational tables as well as the visualizations we demonstrated, the total deaths both in the US and globally rose along with Nasdaq daily close prices. Therefore, there is a positive relationship with both of these. And you can see that on the bottom left, what a positive correlation means. Also, Bitcoin, on the other hand, had a negative relationship with the total cases, both globally and in the US, therefore showing the complete opposite as Nasdaq, which can be shown on the bottom right. Overall, this research can definitely be continued in the future. Since the pandemic is still ongoing, new data and events are continuously coming out. And therefore, in the future, this can definitely be analyzed and be seen as how the pandemic affected these markets before, during, and after. And we can definitely build models and show how this has definitely impacted the markets. Here you can see our references on how we collected all of our data. And then finally, we want to thank the US Department of Education grant, STEM Space, for allowing us to continue our research and support us. Thank you.
Thank you.